country. All this killing spree, young woman bodies, but only about PNM you could sing. All them songs playing on the radio, all you singing we Kamala do. But when PNM do a wrong thing, I hear in a word from you. I want to ring me bell, wake up Mother Castell. Every Monday she preach on WAC radio and is the biggest critic of Calypso. Ring me bell for Patsy and Joni. I want them two cultural lovers to know not only PNM song is Calypso. I ring my bell, ring my bell. I ring my bell down there. I ring my bell, ring my bell. I ring my bell down there. Crime will never stop in this country once black people belly empty. How could a man work in CPEP, maintain his whole family? All you say the past regime was so bad, so much wrong thing they done to we. Now that PNM take over, white poor people going hungry. When PNM win, all African grin. Now we get back we country. All they doing is complaining and it doing nothing for we. The mess already made, don't sit in the shade and ponder on we problem. Get off your ass and do it fast and find a way to solve them. I want to ring my bell, wake up Randolph Burrows. Tell him among all past police commissioners, up to now is he I prefer. Ring my bell, wake up the Lord Bryna. Tell him the state of Calypso today is a good thing he passed away.
What is democracy? What is human rights? And to whom is it directed? Suspend the Constitution, lawlessness out of hand. And under this Constitution, there could be no prosecution. It looks like this Constitution is not for the law-abiding man. Only criminals and crooks, to get them off of the hook. Good people must have no fun. They have to be on the run, ducking from bandits, bullets and guns. While they're making a mockery of democracy, violating the law with impunity, and some legal entity defends them with alacrity, while they're making a mockery of democracy. International should be disbanded immediately, or charge them all as accomplice for every crime in every country. Cause it look like their only mission is to see the guilty go free, while the victim rights go to waste. Nobody to plead their case. How long would we stand and see democracy going crazy? Oh, how unjust justice is made to be. They're just making a mockery of democracy, violating the law with impunity, and some legal entity defends them with alacrity, while they're making a mockery of democracy. Don't execute the criminals if they've been on death row too long. It's cruel, unusual punishment. Society shouldn't commit this wrong. You violating their human rights. You're sure to hear some lawyers say, but the victim rights are lost. Why they say justice take its course? Look like them criminal is boss. The guilty rights stay in store, protected democracy, violating the law with impunity, and them legal entity defends them with alacrity while they making a mockery of democracy.
Yes, indeed. Of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. Welcome, of course, to the Monday night edition of the Corridor Transformation. Your host, Lennox Smith. Yes, indeed. Of course, we will continue, of course, with that issue of racial politics that seem to be the basis, or should I say plural, the bases for the PNM, believing that somehow they can, in perpetuity, gain government in this country by fooling the people, by hoodwinking the people, by deceiving the people. That is what they believe. That they can use race, the race card, at every opportunity, and then the next 5 years, we catch our Aunt Denen and all of the other iniquities that we have seen that this government is prepared and can, of course, unleash on the people. Unsuspecting, unprecedented, and unexpected, as well as, of course, heartlessly and brutally. And therefore, in such circumstance, we must tell them as it is. And of course, I think the most appropriate to of course, be able to let's say, crystallize. That is probably a younger person, because, of course, the arch nemesis of Trinidad and Tobago is this man. Yes, indeed.
Forest, come down, come down. Come down, come down. In tongue. I don't want to leave you on top the horse. I need you to come down here for me now. You're claiming E&M them is boss, but look how high the crime it is now. P&M feel the bright. They got win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Take me to with that vibe. Champa, coach, you them they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there. I just want to warn you before the mixing would concern you. They went like keto and one voodoo for the people and them to vote you.
Hello? I'm on the program now. I'm the program now. Hello? I'm on the program now.
Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Take me to pay that advice. Calling in with them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there. Hands on when you come down. You're going on the beat up to mama guy, poor people. Good, you get wet down. Shamfa always in a zest. Least post development in a mess. Come and get the government credit, card arrest. Remember when you buy all the wig and dress? Comments are millions, if you check.
President, good night. Welcome.
Pleasant good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you, my friend.
And pleasant good night to the right-thinking citizen of this beloved country, Trinidad and Tobago.
Repeat that for me, please, because I answer a little noise in the background. But go ahead, let me.
Well, I say pleasant good night to the right-thinking citizen of Trinidad and
yes,
this
indeed,
beloved
yes,
country,
indeed.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Mr. Lennox,
Hey.
Stuart Young in the parliament. He called our Prime Minister in waiting a filthy name, and they make excuses for him.
Yes.
The coal pot man tell the public that you had a gas, if you can't afford the gas, to use a coal pot till such time. They make excuses for him. The Prime Minister came and tell we, do not blame him and his administration for the state that the crime rate is in, and they make excuses for that. Right? And then on top of that, the Prime Minister kicked P&M people in the face, because only them getting kicked in the face, right? Because the UNC supporters, we don't have that understanding what is taking place. After a man use obscenity in the parliament, they take him and still make him acting Prime Minister of this country. What an embarrassment. Twah! Mr. Lennox. And Mr. Lennox, I want to know, I wonder if the Prime Minister will leave Lyons as the acting Prime Minister to represent Lavantil. You think that will happen?
That will never happen because, of course, Leon Sade are seen as malleable, manipulative, subservience. You know, so that will happen.
Yeah. So I just a slap again in the P&M face, and when they get slapped, they just turn on the next side, they get slapped again in the face.
Yeah, because 30 pieces of silver is what is the focus, and therefore they don't mind becoming multiple Judases.
And this I want to bring this to your attention. Mr. Lennox, do you think turning in a police tactical uniform will have any impact on the detective rate, the detection rate in this country?
The initiator of that memo knows that, but for them it's good public relations and a knee-jerk response to the clearly overwhelming crime situation, because of course there's an article in today's Newsday that speaks about a record-breaking time of over 500 murders, and the year still has approximately 2 and something more months. Yes. And they predict it's going to be about 635 thereabout.
But I hope God forbid that it never happen. But with the rate we go in, we have to press on, because everything in shambles in this country. But do you think that, or based on your ambition of this administration in this present time of coming close to the general election, you ain't find it looking like the government trying to destabilize the country.
Well, I will not put it beyond them. At the risk of maybe being considered for sedition, but I will not put it beyond them, and that must be part and parcel of the arsenal of evil in order to undermine our democracy, as we have seen in the past, albeit in a different form, whether it be infiltrating the EBC to tell the chairman to extend the time by 1 hour, or in the last general elections of 2020, when, of course, Rowley orchestrated, concocted, connived for the non-presence of independent observers. And, of course, then we have the situation, as I said, I haven't gotten a response as yet, but I'll be following it up this week with respect, of course, to EBC and that curious contract, contract with respect to, of course, Grand Bay and the destruction of evidence.
As we have seen in and in this last 9 years, Trinidad rotting. And right now, it now start to smell. Mr. Lennox, you have a blessed night.
Thank you very much. And rotting from the top. And boy, is that stench going straight down to hell. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Yes. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night to you. Welcome to the corridor. Yes.
I'm glad that fella leave the last word smell. Because you see what Dr. Rowley do there with putting Stuart Zombie Boy that as Prime Minister there.
Yes.
Is nothing more than Stuart Young pulling on his pants and taking a big dump on the people's face in this country. And it stink. You understand?
Yes, my friend. Yes, my friend. And you will get unanimous support for that position, because I happen to have a similar position as well. But I wanted to hear from the callers before, of course, I make my conclusive intervention. But go ahead.
That is the most disgusting thing I ever see. Rewarding that kind of nasty, stinking behavior, with the highest office in this land. That's what you're going to do. You slapping the people up in both sides of their face, all kind of thing, and kicking out. You're bullying the people. That's what he's doing here. That is the example he's setting for the people of this country, for the culture of this country, for lawlessness in this country. That is what he's setting. I mean, this man now come out of this parliament day fresh, you know, with this stinking nasty old talk he make day, and you rewarding the man for that. And there's a saying, you know, in that PNM party, once you're black, no office for you. Use as window dressing, and you just contact what they call them, slave catchers, all of them. I see the same woman, Lennox,
yes,
who was posting up thing with video the other day.
Yes.
I see she coming out and supporting this misogynistic man too. This young fella.
I have some comments to make on that. I'll tell you why. Go ahead.
I tell you, them is a bunch of doormats, you know. Them is a bunch of doormats. All them good for is to wipe your foot on them. I wouldn't give them no airtime at all when they see they come into this flat story. Because them is mercenaries for hire. And you hear in the end what she was saying in that video? She cussing out Kamala this, Kamala that, Kamala cause everything. I see the Apollo 4 from the tree. Eh? Look at here. They didn't take a flight because I called Kamala and after the stupidness of the plane and putting it through. But she had to get worse than that. You understand? Yeah. If UNC ever come back in power, that will be the end of she, because she would not see she way again after that. But Young in the Prime Minister office is a big stink for me. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. And again, of course, let me start with your last concern, and that is to say, of course, the PNM activists that seem to be in a state of what I consider to be a desultory inadequacy. Let me put it that way. Desultory inadequacy. What I mean by that is very simple. The person doesn't know where they're going. Any port for a storm. And of course, the display of cognitive dissonance, you know, like the fox and the grapes, when of course the fox could get the grapes, what did Fox say? It's sour, it might be rotten inside, and so only because they couldn't get the grapes. Well, I am saying so in the context of Julia Davy because she realized that Rowley has failed her. So what she has done, and recognizing that it somehow Stuart Young is the anointed successor to Rowley. So what she does, she then anchors her position and her, what I consider to be puerile, nonsensical, irrational, illogical, a putrid, and of course a very, what I consider to be self-destructive, and for the piano as well. Self-destructive here has a dual context for herself and of course the PNM, by of course attaching her so-called venomous verbalizations, cacophonous babblings to try to support or to justify some what I consider to be amorphous. We can't figure it out. It is enigmatic. It is mysterious. Some justification for, of course, Stuart Young's statement by way of the party and the fact that even the Speaker of the House came into her wrath domain. Came into her wrath domain because she has gone mad. And therefore there is no justification for it. But I will continue, of course, after this call because we need to examine that and why it is that she has taken or appeared to have a new lease on life to defend, of course, the indefensible. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor.
Yes, good night, Mr. Lennox Smith.
Good night to you as well.
Thank God they are alive and well.
Yes.
I was listening to the program last night and I hear the noise.
Yes. But it was
we tongue people just call it noise.
But it wasn't close by. But boy, it sounded like it was close by.
Yes.
Given credence,
to me, it sounded like it was in the yard in George Street.
I'm telling you, man, I thought it was in the street outside. And that they were shooting at the roof on the building that I'm in here now, you know. But of course, it turned out to be no such thing. But go ahead, my friend.
Yes. So, well, here that is bacchanal, you know. But yes, yeah, catch up on the bacchanal. Well, let me give
catch up on it? You're going to hear me tonight. Go ahead.
Let me give you Wade Mark in the parliament today. I watch him part of the way. Mr. The man getting crazy. Here now. Remember I tell you all how they turn. When you do look wrong with this selling at this oil refinery, it will always link back to Venezuela.
Yes.
Maduro and Rupati and them.
Yep.
All how they come again. They set up. But before this, you could remember they tell you about Alex Saab.
Yes, Alex
you
Saab,
will
yes.
remember
who was caught in Malta.
Because you didn't pay full attention.
Yes.
Not Malta.
The other country that is
Cape Verde. Cape Verde,
right? Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Right.
That's just
you was paying a little attention to that.
Atlantic, yes.
But you see, people are paying attention. I'm talking about the UNC too, with this man they call Alex Saab. If there was Mako and he good, they would understand plenty things. You see? And we'd know a lot more. Well, Alex Saab, as you know, out of prison, they had a prisoner exchange.
Yeah, prisoner exchange,
you know
yes.
that?
Yeah, prisoner exchange.
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah. Preceding and hoping that there would have been free and fair elections. That was one of the conditionalities.
The
Barbados Accord.
Yes.
Okay.
He wanted that man real bad because that man doing all the business. You could remember too, I tell you, his nickname is called the Ghost.
Right.
Hmm?
Yes.
In Spanish, La Fantasma.
La
He is
Fantasma.
La
I hear you.
Fantasma.
Again, you would.
Alex Saab.
In Spanish.
Right, I teach you that. La
Yes. La
Fantasma.
Fantasma. Right, good.
That's right.
Yeah.
So here now, La Fantasma, I know is he set up 3 companies to bid for the oil refinery. 3 of them is a joint committee.
A joint venture arrangement.
I had to laugh. Oh God, they say it local. Listen to that man, you know. He gave you good. I'm talking about Wade Mark.
Wade Mark, yes.
Yeah, that is one. Bam. The next one is Jindal cousin. We have a link with Jindal, but this time it's no blasted Jindal cousin. When you check it out, it go be Jindal self in our next form.
In the next form, that's right.
You understand?
Yeah. They recreate themselves in order to deceive. Yeah, and doing, yes.
And then now it have one is a Venezuelan company with some kind of name. I can't remember the name. It's too much for me to remember.
Okay.
But all how you take it, when Wade Mark show you and you turn it, is Venezuela. I want Trinidad and Tobago to take that in the pipe and smoke it. Who do here have to feel? And one day, Jose, they're going to catch up with we and they're going to get that oil refinery. Venezuela. Every blasted thing inside of here they're owning. The oligarchs and them. I tired talk. You hear? But I ain't talking. At least the sleepy UNC waking up. They're falling asleep at all. They're on the tail like that. They catch up with them. But if you listen, I'm begging you to play this. I don't ask you to play video, but if you get Annie Roberts video, you will hear how much he talking and you will understand. If you pick sense out of nonsense, you will understand who it is made them close down that oil refinery.
Yes. Well, I do have a copy of it, and I will play it, of course, tomorrow after I add some additional things to it, yes. And, of course, what transpired in Parliament today, certainly I will incorporate that in that video. Yes, so we have a comprehensive understanding, because it is part and parcel of the playbook of this government. They are criminals, and they concoct like a mafia, and believe that somehow public funds are their funds. It's the first mafia set up I see where they
call the people mafia. They could arrest you.
No, I call them mafia. They could say what they want.
It's not they,
the operation is a mafia.
The mafia is the brotherhood. And who it is doing all that thing with them scoundrels the next door. You hear? This is no fresh information I'm giving. This is thing I'm repeating about the La Fantasma. And who is responsible for all them set up with the Fantasma man, with PDVSA, is our dear Mr. Stuart Young. So if all you want to answer Stuarty, them is the kind of things you have to tell him, because he and his friends in the brotherhood they next door can't take where we talking every week about them. They send message. The mafia send message with the message carrier. All you must understand what's going on. This is how dangerous it is. These people want our refinery and they're doing anything, and that have meaning. It's nothing, well, okay, we catch up with them. That have deep meaning. Mr. Stuarty in Bacchanal with these sanctioned people. All right.
All right. I will not relent or adjust my position on the question that is a mafia grouping who, of course, would encompass and will, of course, recruit like-minded elements, inclusive of what the caller just spoke of, the Venezuelan entities or the Venezuelan connection. Because what we are seeing, and she's right from the perspective of how pellucid now and how evident. Everything is now unfolding so that you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand what is happening. Because one of the popular newspapers are now saying, well, listen, it appears that the closure of Petrotrin and the way that it was done was merely, of course, to save one man, Rowley. And we were saying that all the time on the corridor transformation here. So it's good to see that people like them are now coming to the realization. But we're going to talk about some other things. Let's go to the lines. Professor, good night. Welcome.
Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
Julia Davy.
Yeah.
Julia Davy's a hired gun.
I think she has gone mad.
Yeah, what happened?
Was to destroy the place and then mad.
Iowa George Station.
Yeah.
When she and the next one who just call himself Aruka.
Yes.
Right, but they have a waiting room, in these radio station.
Yeah. But
the waiting room must have a little coffee maker. It has some little quick something there.
Yes.
But what going on? When she calling the PNM and them people phone, the guns and them, nobody answering she. At no time. So what going on? Before you go on, you might take a cup of coffee or whatever.
Yes.
But what happened? Nobody giving she attention. So if it have a guess, she eating out she drinking out the coffee from the coffee machine and eating out the cricks because she get no attention from the people and them who she's supposed to call the attention. Well, we will give something.
Yeah.
So she leave there. So somebody else in some other radio station now hire she to mash up the PNM, to mash up the UNC. So she just go to the highest bidder. If I call Julia Davy and I can give her money, right now she mash up the PNM because that's all she does.
and these days she purported to be representing the, what I can say, disenchanted activist core. A few of them, just a few of them who have gone mad, who of course hired guns, as you rightly said, to spread propaganda, right, misinformation, disinformation, and be unreal to the population, and therefore try to tell us something that is not consistent with our experiences. But of course, that can't work. It will not work. But of course,
will not work.
The hirers, the piper players, the piper payers, those who pay the pipers, certainly will get their fill. But of course, at the end of the day, is an exercise in futility. It simply cannot work and will not work. Evil could never prevail over good.
Well said. Because I want to, if I sure I could call she now, sit down and then you can hear she on a station, looking up the PNM, and she the hired gun. And that's just it, Mr. Lennox. Come on, bless one.
And with no shame, no principle. They really, Pandey really said that politics has a morality of its own, but I think this has gone beyond morality. I think it is devilish to the point where it is asinine and insulting to the ordinary intelligence or common sense of the average person in this country, and therefore that cannot stand, and therefore their reputation by itself will not only just take a nosedive, but has been totally destroyed.
Well said, Mr. Lennox.
Yeah. All right. So, of course, people... Yeah, I was making the point that these days, you're hearing in Parliament, and I saw it today in one of the articles today, where, of course, the former PSA, or should I never put it in the context of the party, the PNM, and, of course, its ministers, former Minister of Labour, Jennifer Baptiste, is saying that she did not agree. She's a member of the General Council of the PNM, and on Sunday, of course, they ratified the leaders' suggestion to postpone the internal elections. Well, we learned, let's be clear, I omitted to talk about it on the ground report this morning, so let me share it one time, that the office for political leader, for general secretary and chairman are not up for contest. that will be done in 2026. Right? So, but what is up for grabs are the other offices. So I want to make that very clear. So that, but there must be a reason why the leader of that party recommended and got the approval of the General Council to postpone an election that was scheduled for next month, October, November. Yes, next month, I think the end of next month, if not the beginning of next month. I think it might have been the first. So, but whatever it is, don't hold me to it, except, of course, it was supposed to be in November. So, to a date to be announced. And Jennifer Batiste said that she was the only one that said, no, that is ultra vires the Constitution. And there were others that abstained, so I think 100 and something persons, I think they got about 75 persons to ratify. Well, of course, the majority counts, and therefore the majority will have their way, whilst, of course, the minority will have their say in that context. So we know some of the inner conflicts and the inner dialectic that is taking place in the PNM. But Jennifer Johnson is on record, public record, having been, of course, interviewed, saying that Rowley and they could not explain to her why the postponement and therefore no. What does that indicate? It indicates the beginning of the total, what I consider to be exposing or the imploding of the PNM. And we predicted that. Remember, I said that elections would have been called earlier. About 3 years now, I've been saying that. But of course, I have come to the conclusion, as I said some time ago recently, that when we look at the history, most prime ministers don't call it. The only man that of course breached that would have been, of course, Manning, not once but twice. But of course, all other prime ministers, whether it be Eric Williams, whether it be Robinson, whether it be Chambers, whether it be Kamla Prasad Bisesa, yes, and of course this prime minister, more devious than all of his predecessors, certainly would not have, in spite of the difficulty and challenges that he would have had. So now what we have is the falling by the wayside, or the dropping off of this mafia, yes, I'm saying mafia criminal enterprise called the PNM. And as I said, recently I read where in an opinion section of one of the major newspapers in the country that says that it is clear that the closing down of Petrotrin, there could be no other analysis or no other conclusion but that it was an attempt to save Rowley from investigations. I thought it was not just vindication, but I found it difficult to accept that they took so long to come to that conclusion. I suppose they were waiting until the PNM would have been at its growing weakest. Let me repeat, at its growing weakest, because as we come closer to the election, the PNM will become more and more weak, and people feel more emboldened to, of course, tell them as it is. Good signs, good development, and of course, as I said, I have not seen the article, or did I have sight of the presentation of Wade Mark, but I'm not surprised of what Ms. Arima would have said with respect, of course, to the criteria, or put another way, some of the, should I say, setting aside of due diligence by the Rowley administration to desperately get the oil refinery up and running, and no longer is the case where he said Trinidad and Tobago gone out of the refining business, or that they had to pay this $850 bullet payment to US, or that the amount of oil that they have to import is 100 and something thousand barrels to make the oil refinery operational and viable. when, of course, in fact, we know from Imbert and we know from, of course, the friends of and fishermen of the sea are talking about Gary Aboud, who, of course, said it in no uncertain terms out inside of his letter that attracted a response from the authorities that says that no way the government was in fact funding the oil refinery or funding Petrotrin. Petrotrin was paying its own way. And until, of course, Rowley and them came up with that cock and bull story in order, of course, to save him. And, of course, in association with AV drilling and, of course, the fake oil matter. Let us not waste time. And remember, we overlooked this, but remember when the fake oil matter came out, the sitting president of Petrotrin resigned one time because he didn't want to get involved in any bacchanal, it is clear. And he allowed, of course, people like the new chairman to do the hatchet job for Rowley, and he was prepared to. Now he has disappeared. I'm talking about, of course, Espiner. Remember Espiner? Well, you're not hearing about him again. He did his hatchet job to save Rowley and, of course, his government. And therefore, that is why I say consistently and as constant as the Northern Star that Rowley and his entire cabinet must be held criminally accountable, and therefore blue lights and silver bracelets moving forward when the government would have changed. And of course, Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the UNC would have taken over government. And they continue with their nefarious ways. They're going to be more desperate because remember, they would have made commitments. They would have expended monies, albeit most of it, I'm sure, is not theirs. They would have fleeced the population and raided the treasury of the country indirectly in essence. But the fact of the matter is, it's not their money. They will take, of course, state assets like land and so on, and then convert it into some kind of collateral for banks, and then, of course, build something, and then the state, of course, pay them for it. That kind of what I consider to be conman, criminalistic, and clearly mafia-like and mafia-type operations that has become stereotypical of Rowley and the PNM as a criminal enterprise. So we await. So I am not surprised at what of the revelation that was given to us tonight by Ms. Arima on the question of what is unfolding in the Parliament. I will of course fact check with renewed invigoration and, of course, enthusiasm. So that being as it may, I thought it was important, of course, to treat with that. But last night, of course, we did say that we're going to continue with the race card because that is one of the cards that they will play. And we want to make sure to justify all of the iniquities. Forget Julia Davy. I have put not past her that she is totally in a state of not just discombobulation, confusion, but she has lost her marbles, and therefore her loyalty seems to be shifting like quicksand, and of course enveloping, and I'm sure they're going to distance themselves by enveloping, of course, into that madness other members of the so-called activist team that she described in order to, of course, pursue her own agenda, having been disappointed by Rowley. A pleasant good night, welcome.
Yes, good night again, Lennox.
Yes, good night to you.
And next thing I have to touch on.
Go ahead.
They don't care any.
They don't?
Shorty is the man of the day. He going right there. And I hear a political scientist say today, I listened to an interview today now.
Yeah.
And that person is Shane Mohammed. And what he said, it make real sense. I like how he thinks it could happen. He said that if Rowley, it could be that if Rowley go back for election and they win, bam, then after he will step down and place Stuart Young. Anyhow you take it, they want Stuart Young to be prime minister. Anytime Rowley leave here, he is the prime minister. He is a strong member in the brotherhood. They don't want nobody else to be prime minister or act as prime minister, or even when, if they win, however, whatever, they don't want nobody else there, right? I'm talking about the brotherhood, the mafia. You hear what I'm telling you? Because Shorty is a right honorary member, full-fledged. They don't want to know that about no Leons and no black man Leons. Get that out of their head. They don't want that with Penelope Beckles. Or they ever watch Penelope Beckles? Watch she good. They don't want to see nobody like she in the eye. She's a kind of quiet woman. She don't talk hard and things. She can't really handle herself too much in her courthouse. She's soft. Them don't want nobody like that. Them dealing with rough people. You hear how he talk in the parliament? He talking like them old nigga around the corner all day so by you, Lennox. He's a roughneck, right? Them kind of heavy word he using, whether it's for people to hear or private, however, where the woman will just look like a man and put on woman clothes. I want to call she name. I can't remember it too much. You understand? That's how they thinking. Stink. They don't like the lady. They stink. So they will say all kind of thing. And as people saying, if he talking so, fathers for when they're talking by themselves. He and Rowley is the same thing. Yeah, when them get nice and thing, when they smoke what they have to smoke, I feel. I just feeling now. You understand? Because where he going over there, he does be doing, he into all kind of thing with the kind of ring down characters he does be meeting, you know. Them kind of people he meeting is some real weird fellas, you know. It had one he used to meet. He thief out real money and pay the visa. And he go in hiding. They come there arrest him. Right? He is a man like thing like Diddy Party, all kind of thing. But they lock him up in a military jailer here. And that was Maduro's right-hand man. That was Shorty counterpart. We going to meet him concerning PDVSA. So I don't know. We money missing with train one, 24 million. You understand? I hear they buy a plane for 13 million for some ghost company. They say, buy this plane in the Caribbean. Well, I tell you, hey, oh God, look back at all that confusion. Lennox, there's only ghosts after ghosts.
Yes, man.
Gone.
I hear you, my dear. And of course, given the Spanish name for it again. But the fact of the matter is that we always knew birds of feather flock together, and we know it was a mafia ring. We know it was a criminal enterprise. Let's not waste time with that. The fact that the telling and the most physical representation of that anybody and everybody could see. Whilst, of course, the others, they could, of course, try to hide from us, try to hoodwink us, try to put veil over our eyes, but we cannot hide Balize House. Let's not waste time with that. How they get the money is obvious, true, of course, illicit means, and because they are in office. So that speaks for itself. And of course, we have other elements and factors that we will explore now and beyond. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yes, Mr. Arima, so correct in what she's saying about this, Stuart.
Yeah.
They had a picture called Austin Powers, right? They had a character in that movie called Dr. Evil. And Dr. Evil had a little midget being groomed on him. They call him Mini-Me. Well, Stuart Young is Mini-Me. He being groomed by Dr. Evil himself to take over the reins of this country, to put in the hand of these big conglomerates and these big hierarchy people. This country been hijacked. It's been hijacked. I have seen it in broad daylight.
Yeah, we have said that. They have commanded government. The first glaring example of that is in South Africa, with, of course, the former president who had people outside of the government choosing even ministers, etc. What's his name? I'll get his name during the course of the program. But it's interesting that we can make that kind of comparison, and they're subjected to trials and so on, because the Guptas was the name of the family, ritual family from India that he adopted, just as how Rowley have adopted, of course, this what I consider to be quasi, not Caucasian, but Asian element in Stuart Young, and that he's prepared, of course, to keep the secrets where all the dead, the bones are buried, or all the dead graves are located. And therefore, Rowley would feel more comfortable debating office with a fella like that there, because he will, of course, do all the covering up and all of the dirty work that is required.
Political secrets.
Yes.
And not only that, Lennox,
Yes,
a blind man could have seen from the beginning. A blind man could have seen from the beginning this man was taking this fella in all them ventures. Anyway, go, he carrying this man.
Yeah, of course.
Left, right, and center.
He never left the office of the Prime Minister. Even now, as Minister of Energy, he has not divorced him from the office of the Prime Minister. So he is Minister of Energy and a minister in the office of the Prime Minister. So we know that that twin evil looks large and low, but as I said, at the end of the day, the people like Tobago will decide. Rowley, your asses are grasses. Let me just tell you that one time. No matter how much evil you do, you cannot survive, and there is a limited shelf life for that kind of despicable, wicked, and diabolical conduct and misbehavior. Go ahead, my friend.
It's not Rowley other going or the entire PNM other go.
But of course, I'm just saying that he's the leader. As leader,
including Minimi.
Yes.
Minimi is strong in our office now, strong and skinny teeth and saying, look how I do that people there.
Yeah, they seem to have a passion to do evil. They seem to have a dictionary, or should I say, I wouldn't say an evil Bible of evil to perpetrate on the people, and the gullibility of some decreasing as it is with a rapidity that is pleasant, but ought to be even more rapid. Is amazing. But there are some people who are prepared, of course, to hold on to that for 30 pieces of silver, even though that silver will turn out to be, of course, nothingness. But go ahead, my friend.
Remember, the Prime Minister said that how he started off in the court against somebody who put him out of office. Remember that?
Yes. We played that over and over. We have demonstrated that, yes. All right, my friend. Yes, indeed. So we are very conscious as to what the outcome will be. And the outcome is that the people of Trinidad and Tobago will make the decision when all of these nastiness are exposed. No way, in no country, whether it's democratic, whether it be autocratic, whether it be totalitarian, can't work, must not work, because we can do better, we must do better, especially when we have people like Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC. Clearly, a different kettle of fish, and with a perspective that will take Trinidad and Tobago soaring to the heights that we have the potential so to do, save for these fellas, Rowley and they, who would, of course, guide us into the abyss of failed state and be among the pariah states in the world for their poor policies, their evil agenda, their misappropriation, and the larceny of the resources of the country to benefit to themselves and their friends and their family. Why these people are so greedy? But of course, the Bible has a saying for people like these. What would it, of course, benefit a man, that he'll gain the world and lose his soul. And Rowley and Stuart Young and others, that which you enjoy now is ephemeral. It is temporary, and it's just a matter of time. You rapscallions, you no-goods, and you total incompetent and criminalistic mafia. And if there's a conglomerate, well, it's a mafia conglomerate. Yes, because they believe that they loom large as they continue to control the resources of the country, and we must say no to it. You must accept the fact that they have failed. You must accept the fact that they are the bane of the country. You must accept the fact that they could do no worse than they're doing now. Or put another way, the country could do. And therefore it's time for us to understand there must be a renaissance, a revival, a resuscitation of good government and good governance. And of course, a caring for the people, because we can do better, we must do better, and we have the potential to make Trinidad and Tobago still potentially the Singapore of the West. And I remember saying Singapore, I see they just jailed a minister of government for misbehavior and for greed and for avarice in public office. As is so generic with this government, the entire cabinet must be held criminally liable, apart from, of course, the civil liability that of necessity the Kamala Prasad successor UNC administration must pursue in order, of course, to recover some of the ill-gotten resources that Rowley and others have not pilfered, but have stolen from the country and therefore our treasury, and deprive, of course, the citizens and taxpayers of their just due and resources that could have made their lives much better. But while they're doing that, they're imposing, of course, draconian measures to make it harder. And as somebody rightly said, utilizing the state resources, law enforcement, as part of that conspirators' evil to try to force us, to beat us into submission. No. Every night, and if we have to come during the day as well, on the corridor transformation and elsewhere, we will, in order to make the population understand that these diabolical, sinful, and evil, and reckless, and brutal, and archaic, and of course, not just wicked, not just diabolical, but barbaric individuals, in the context of what they are doing to the people, must be eliminated. They would wish we didn't have a democracy, and any time they try that, they know what is going to happen to them regionally and hemispherically. So they try to, of course, play on thin ice, but thin ice is a thin ice. Eventually, they must submerge. They must submerge into the deep depths, the deep depths of the water below, and sink to oblivion. Sink to oblivion. That is the mission that we must have in this country, as we, of course, pursue our democracy in the way that was planned, and we know it to be government by the people, of the people, and for the people, and not government by Rowley's dictate and the PNM wishes, and the abuse of office and resources as they have demonstrated. But people, I want to go, of course, to the incident that took place last night. And I know it went viral, but I need to play tonight as well so that you appreciate, because it has much to do with, of course, the Rowley administration and what they have brought Trinidad and Tobago to. Yes, indeed. And therefore, of course, we have a duty and responsibility. The coup was over. He came back from Africa, donated some tools to the program. And then, of course, in discussions, Robinson set up. Let me just, people, that's what happened to me last night. Live on this program, live, right here on George Street. And we need to let the people know, the nation know, that this is not Baghdad, this is not Gaza, this is not Lebanon, this is not Hezbollah, this is not, of course, the other terrorist group, which of course Israel is fighting. This is right here in Trinidad. But let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Oh, just a minute. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry about that. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah.
Yes.
You hear me good?
Yeah, loud and clear now.
I am not saying today that the downstreamers in Point Lisa Day, you got to pass law, bring it in the parliament now.
Yeah.
To change the law, they must pay the taxes in US. So the opposition ain't gonna go along with that. So they gotta pass that by simple majority. Because apparently nobody ain't want the money. Jamaica ain't want $1, Ghana ain't want it. I don't think Barbados want it either. Quite a few places don't want me $50. And some business conglomerate coming on to do business here. See, we want to be paid in US. Listen to our chopper man in Roberts.
Yeah.
$70 come out like a roll of toilet paper. This is what this idiot bring this country to. And talking about maybe she was paid in US. You think that basically when he tell them that what they do now? It's gone, they're gone. And they got to pass that by themselves. Simple majority, Kamala, they ain't gonna go along with that.
That's right.
That is total madness. Why? Simply because the man don't have the ability. Talk last time, but he ain't
because it's never about that. It was never about that. It was about getting rich off the people and devising schemes and all kinds of shenanigans to get an unmerited, undeserving and illicit gains. What would it benefit a man to lose his soul and gain the world? They ain't understand that principle yet.
Right? So I was watching that on WhatsApp.
Okay.
This other one we him, Terence Farrell. You should remember that a couple weeks ago say that we have no crisis for US. But the ship already van.
Well, yeah, well, of course, these are what I consider to be the attenuous or the emaciated, well, rapidly emaciating, becoming thin, becoming irrelevant apologists who pretend to be, of course, intellectuals, but really and truly they are very narrow in terms of course, supporting evil. And the evil, of course, is Rowley and, of course, this PNM.
Nobody don't want me money. So what are you going to do? If you don't want me money, what are you doing?
Accept our fate in the world and in the position that they have found Trinidad and Tobago by their incompetence. And what is required? Change the blasted government.
Well,
Full
that
stop.
should happen all now.
Yes.
All right, I will call them back.
Yes, man. Yes. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. First step, change the government. At all costs, change the government. And we will do so by the democratic means, not by the bullet, but by the ballot. Because it will be more disruptive. But if they do not subscribe to the democratic principles and try what Maduro has done, then I could assure them their asses are grasses. not that small group of persons, whether they're the police service, the army, are sympathetic to them, that they are bribed and believe that somehow they will lose something. This is democracy. Understand that. You win, you lose. You do nonsense, as they are doing, you lose, get the hell out. Don't try to stay. Don't try to stay. But let's go again to the to what transpired last night. And again, in these parts of the country, this is East Port of Spain we are talking about. And listen to what transpired. Listen to what transpired. All because of a group of individuals who only concern about themselves and their political survivability, or put another way, their political currency, the political oxygen, and they will pretend that this doesn't happen. But listen to it. It happened last night to me, right here on the corridor transformation. By the time the coup was over, he came back from Africa, donated some tools to the program, and then, of course, in discussions, Robin. Robinson set up. Let me just pause for a while. Yes, I had to pause. Lie down, boy, lie down. I told, of course, my colleague to lie down. Had to pause. Take a break. Yesterday, of course, sorry for that interruption, but I'm sure that you experience during the course of this program the nature of the neighborhood. And it is fortuitous that we are talking about this situation as far as racial politics is concerned, for us to understand that that has no place in deciding what is best for us as a people, for our children, our children's children. I'm sure you heard the interruption just now. Rapid fire. Yeah, that's real. Happening, right? Happened as I was speaking. Of course, it's a little way off, but of course, you hear these things as if it's close by. So I had to pause in order to find out, and of course, a whole set of people outside as well looking as to what caused that, and searching as to what direction these rapid fire would have been coming from. That is Trinidad and Tobago today, people. That is an example of Trinidad and Tobago today. And we have to accept that as a reality. And the cause of that, well, there's a report in today's or yesterday's Newsday that talks about 500 murders in 300 days. Another record, apart from the record that was, of course, crossed or accomplished or achieved in 2022. The highest amount of murders before Rowley came in was 537. We are looking now at close to 600 and beyond, with on top of the record of 22 when Rowley was there. But it's not the first time record breaking, but tending towards building an argument or adding to the cog of destruction of Trinidad and Tobago. Because record again, for the first time, NGC made a loss under Rowley. 2, the Heritage and Stabilization Fund did not make a gain. Did not add anything to what was there around 2021, 22 under Rowley. Train 1, $200 million was allocated to do literally nothing. Nothing. But somehow he wants to make the nexus between that and some what I consider to be interests, some kind of part ownership, just about 2 or 3%. But nonetheless, that's the argument he made for spending $200 million that was unnecessary just around the 2020 general elections or just before that. And telling us, insulting us, that if he didn't do that without giving us details and without any logical nexus as to how that is possible, if they don't do that, they wouldn't get 2%, or should I say, a stake holdership in, of course, train 2 and 3. I say, Rowley, hold your tail. Hold your tail. Who your failure is. How you believe that you can insult our intelligence consistently in that way? The man initiated a highway to nowhere, the so-called Manzanilla Highway. If you go and see it now, you'll understand. Where he said it's supposed to end in Manzanilla, it ending on one of the narrow thoroughfares leading into Grandy. So thus, of course, doing nothing to change the bottleneck in and out of Grandy and heading for Manzanilla. That is what we have. And of course, very recently, we have people understanding, as one analyst demonstrated, again in one of the popular newspapers, that with the closure of the Petrotrin oil refinery, we were losing $500 million a year. You must say $500 million a year with the closure of the Petrotrin oil refinery. And that was so because there was no need to close it down. According to Imbert, we played it already, that it was making money. It was a net earner of foreign exchange. So Rowley and Day, and as the author concluded, the closure was because they wanted to save one man, Rowley, the entire cabinet, and of course his friend from A. Vigilant. You could imagine that. Remember, it was Sandals was supposed to provide at the end of the day, once they're operating in Trinidad, $500 million annually in taxes. Well, we lost the $500 million, and of course, Sandals never came to fruition. Sandals never came to fruition, people. Understand what is happening here, and therefore the endangerment of our economy and the availability of foreign exchange. Because oil, gas, and petrochemical continues to be our main export to earn foreign exchange, on which we depend, of course, to survive in this country, to, of course, be able to have access to household items, to, of course, some 400, or should I say 4 billion in food imports. And where, of course, the need for things like bitumen, we have to now import it to fix our roads. And then on top of that, they took the decision to, of course, raise fuel prices by reducing subsidies after they told us that they will not interfere with the subsidy. This is a mafia, a criminal enterprise that lied to us at the beginning, and this cannot be taken with any kind of simplicity. They must be held accountable for the deception that they perpetrated on the people. And then, of course, when they get into office, having hoodwinked the population, they then, of course, try to cover their tracks, or put another way, sustain themselves by, of course, utilizing the legal parameters that the office hold in order for them to survive in those offices as they continue to on a rampage to destroy our economy, the social fabric, and cannot be forgiven for the level of crime and criminality that in their presence and because of their policies and programs, they have been able, of course, to achieve a tremendous achievement as far as they are concerned. And they still have the audacity and the temerity and the gall to say, like some mad, insane, criminally insane, of a recidivist nature, will tell us there's a good thing them coming to government. And Rowley would say it's a good thing as well that he made all those trips because it brought back benefits to Trinidad. What benefits? Let us take the very first one when he said that he is the #1 salesman for Trinidad and Tobago. When he went, of course, Texas and negotiated prices. And he continues to say now in a different iteration of his proclivity to lie, his mendaciousness knows no boundary. The man is a total and absolute mythomaniac. He's a spontaneous liar, and all of them, Stuart Young and they try to follow that and find themselves, of course, in all kinds of explosive trouble. That, of course, trouble in the sense that it is damn good for them, but, of course, trouble in the sense that Rowley expect them to be so asinine and expose themselves. So when, of course, Rowley makes Stuart Young the acting prime minister on his departure when he still had Imbert, it shows, don't be surprised, it is part of an orchestration to tell the people he has confidence in Stuart Young in spite of what transpired in the parliament. He's saying that he has contempt for the people. You could say what you want. I using the parameters, the legal parameters which my office provides. And all you could jump high, jump low. I will disrespect you all. And all so stupid. That small group of persons, yes, eat them out, take the money, take the resources, it's not theirs. And vote the tails out. Understand that that is the imperative that we have to save Trinidad and Tobago. To continue in this way will be utter destruction of Trinidad and Tobago. And yes, I agree with all those who say that the Americans are not unaware. Let me repeat, the Americans are not unaware. They are aware. But they are depending, as is the case in any democracy, the people will rise up. And Trinidad is not like Maduro, Venezuela, where he has commandeered every single institution, as Rowley tried to do. The big difference is that we are smaller in terms of geography and in terms of numbers, and we are not as friendly, or put another way, China and Russia and Iran and, of course, Cuba will not come to our rescue or fight for us. So therefore we are vulnerable or gullible or susceptible to the manipulations of not only our CARICOM friends, but also our more powerful friends in the north, whether it be Canada or the United States. And Rowley will be fooling himself and living in a fool's, what I consider to be, not a fool's paradise, but a fool's decadence. Decadence. To believe that somehow he could engage in these, what I consider to be reciprocal dodging and weaving, pretending to be, of course, a friend of the United States, and then claiming that they are not concerned about the conduct of this government and its foreign policy and its relations with Venezuela and its stance on Venezuela. He wants to tell us that they are not concerned. What we know for sure is that they will not want to appear to be, of course, advantageous, and therefore they will not invade, as they can do that anytime. We know that. But let Rowley continue to play with fire. Let him engage in brinksmanship, taking things to the edge, and the eventual destruction of Trinidad and Tobago, and he will see to it that he swallows, he imbibes, and of course chew and swallow the bread that the devil need. Because no country, especially the Western Hemisphere, the Americans and people who love democracy will countenance. And as he gets more and more desperate, and as the PNM criminal enterprise and machinery continues, of course, to gobble up and to consume unmerited resources of the poor and downtrodden, and deprive them thereof, it is just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Let them feel the bright. Let them feel the smart. And don't study these nincompoops like Julia Davy, and they don't know whether they're going or coming. What they are struggling for is the next dollar. Clearly. And that represents a survivability. So Stuart Young represents some fresh opportunity to be looked at, and therefore they will take the chance. Let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yes, Lennox.
Yes, my friend.
The true figure is on Ian Allen. It's 524.
524. All right, good. No doubt. Yes.
Ian Allen. He have the truth. The lion, the newspapers, them lion.
Good. Well, of course, I want to give credit to them in the sense that they said, well, it's 300 days and is over 500. They did not give a specific account, but I'm glad that Ian Allen is more specific.
No, the expression them talking
that
about
is his speciality.
504 and 507 and so on.
Oh, yes. 524. Okay, good. One less 525.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much. All right. So, of course, we have people from all over calling, man, and letting us know what the facts are. And I cannot, of course, and I must give a special plug for those persons who have come on board, having been, of course, recalcitrant for some time. When we were in the wilderness, I'm talking about Andy, Michael, myself, the Ground Report, and of course, subsequently the Corridor Transformation and the Observers and other platforms that have emerged as a result of course, recognizing that this government is extremely sinful, they are incompetent, they are impotent, they are a mafia syndicate, and therefore there is a need for the population to become aware. Then they have come on board so slowly, but now they are doing it with a rapidity that, of course, has brought, of course, tears to my eyes and, of course, a joy to my heart. To know that the wider population is now understanding the mafia nature of this government and the criminalistic tendency, and that their avarice has no boundary, as they will rub Trinidad and Tobago dry. While, of course, attempting, of course, to impose by force their will on the people by, of course, manipulating some of the institutions of coercion, including the police and the army, to, of course, pursue their nefarious agenda. We must resist. And resistance here does not necessarily mean putting boots on the ground. Because even with, of course, Rowley's attempt in around 2015 to hoodwink us with respect, of course, to Rishmi and Section 34. And he brought out some people, but of course, in conjunction with the trade unions. Poor fellas today, they are regretting what they did, regretting that they supported Rowley. But the fact of the matter is that they did not get the government then to budge and to call election one moment earlier than was constitutionally due. So I don't expect the same thing here. What Rowley did cater for, however, is that new players will come on the scene besides and overwhelmingly. And of course, as Karl Marx would have said, history is about one group becoming superior to another as the society dictates at the moment. And now, of course, the trade union movement has found itself in the doldrums, having regard, of course, to being partially responsible for, of course, joining and or utilizing and or riding the pernicious, evil, diabolical, wicked, and lucidly incompetent chariot of Rowley and the PNM. What we see are new players coming on the scene because evil could never prevail, and therefore in the fullness of time and with, of course, the presence of the Almighty that will bring, of course, his disciples and his prophets to bring to bear and therefore to equalize the society and to bring it back to its original morals of progress and development, and of course looking at generations to come and leaving a country that can, of course, sustain and maintain because of the democracy and the system of economic distribution as equitable as possible, and of course considering to each his own, and of course in a scenario where, of course, meritocracy is always superior than, of course, an attempt by Rowley and their policies and programs to implant and to proliferate mediocrity. Mediocrity! And that can be no good for Trinidad and Tobago as we move forward and as our young people aspire, as so many of us would have, to live a better life. Because we can do better, must do better, and we have a responsibility to show that better can be done. Let us not waste time. Let us not waste time. And therefore, some of the specificity as far as the economy is concerned and the impact it has on the socio-economic and psycho-cultural disaster that is Trinidad and Tobago, both current and deepening into, of course, that Armageddon, that crevice, that abyss, of not just wickedness, but of poor policies and programs that have demonstrated that we are in a state of retrogression as opposed to progression, must be halted. And the time is coming. They have until August next year. August next year, people. We have been long suffering, and we must, of course, respond appropriately. We have the microcosm already in the manifestation of Tobago, a place where Rowley came from, and they have rejected him outright. Having, of course, engaged in unfair practices to try to stay in office by going to the parliament with his tenuous majority, and, of course, causing 3 additional seats to be added to the Tobago House of Assembly, and then, of course, having manipulated the EBC, an independent entity that is supposed to be a constitutional as well as a representation of the People's Act, creature, to fairly conduct elections. And what we have seen is that they have a bias for the PNM, and the PNM, of course, would capitalize on that and would manipulate. And in such circumstance, the EBC has been compromised, and therefore, as I said, I have not yet received the preliminary letter. I will, of course, check the mails tomorrow, because we don't have mails delivered here on George Street for obvious reasons, such as what you saw tonight. So I'm going to check tomorrow to see whether or not the preliminary response of the EBC came, with respect, of course, to my concern as political leader of the Love Lavatil Outreach for Vertical Enrichment, as far as the providing of a contract to Granby, that company that was deployed by the EBC after the 2020 general elections, to do what? To, of course, in my view, and I say so without fear of contradiction, to destroy evidence of course, the stealing of the 2020 general elections, which, of course, for ostensibly recycling ballot paper and polling cards from the 2020 general elections. Unprecedented and illegal. Illegal. The same company that was given $5 million by the Rowley administration in their first budget in 2016. To do what? Because they had cash flow problems and to save jobs. But you know, at the same time, around that same time, ArcelorMittal was asking for a similar hand support, relying on the treasury of the country, and they didn't get it. But Granby got it. And that's the same company that was deployed by the EBC. So you understand the conspirators' nature and why the population of Trinidad and Tobago must be very skeptical, very concerning, very disconcerted about a Rowley administration, especially when they remain silent on the matter. Means that they are concocting something to try to steal the elections, because they could never, God fears, they could never see at the next election they could never win, having regard to their history over the last, that would have been then 10 years. People, of course, let me play again what we do not want for Trinidad and Tobago. Let me play it again for you, so you get an appreciation as to what transpired last night. And I want to say that that was in the midst of talking about racial voting and the PNMC in Lavatil and the East-West Corridor as a voter bank. Yes? And that they are prepared, of course, to throw some trinkets to the people, whether it be Roman roti, whether it be, of course, a little kakada, true European CPF and so on. Do not be lured. Do not be so gullible. Take it, yes, because you need it, and then vote the tails out, because they deserve it. They deserve it, understand that. There's no other course of action to remedy Trinidad and Tobago on a more sustained basis and put us on the path of not just righteousness, but development and advancement. Yeah, we were talking about racial voting. And do not allow them, of course, and we talked about the banana, and the bananas, of course, was bad when, of course, Kamala Prasad Bisesa put, of course, in a basket of grocery items a hand of bananas, and Rowley sees that as, of course, insulted him as a black man. And of course he told the people of Point 14, the people of Labre, the people of the East-West Corridor, that listen, it is an insult to me, and therefore by extension you, and you vicariously must vote in a particular way in order, of course, to dispel and to, of course, put Kamala and them in the place. And you fell for it. And you fell for it in circumstances where some 65,000 persons in the southwestern peninsula were fired by Rowley, taking away Petrotrin. because he wanted to save himself, and the cabinet was, of course, in concert with that evil. And you voted. You voted because they won Point Fortin and they won Labre. And the sees you as fools and idiots, both along the East-West corridor and, of course, in these constituencies in the Deep South, including, of course, San Fernando West and San Fernando East. Why would you subject yourself to that? Why, Diego Martins? Why Southeast Port of Spain? Why the Laventils? Why Arima? Why Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West? Why Arima? Why Sandy Grande? Why Talparo? La Hocata Talparo? Why? No. This is unfair to our children or our children's children. And it's unfair to you. Why must you want to commit suicide for a group of people who will do you harm and evil and then go and lie down and think about the next harm and evil to do you, as we have seen with property tax, as we have seen, of course, with the increase in electricity, as will be the case with water, and will be the case, of course, with other taxes that they have not yet concocted, like, for example, have these multiple amnesties. Yes, and they laugh. I said, destroy our bread and butter and our lifeblood in the form of the Petrotrin oil refinery and Petrotrin itself. And the promise, of course, heritage being a monumental success has in itself failed, as they are producing less oil than ever before. And then telling us, have the audacity to tell us to wait until what? 2027 to be prosperous. Well, they told us the same damn thing in 2018 and 2019 when Imbert and them told us that they could see clearly now the rain is gone, and that, of course, the economy has turned around, so forth and so forth. And today, they are now telling us that 2020 is the ground zero and the reason for the destruction and the deterioration of our circumstance and our quality of life and standard of living, when in fact 2020 came after 2018 and 2019, unless they believe that we can't even do simple arithmetic. Come on. And then they insult us, so we're telling us that they did not, of course, focus on the bumps and the sinks and the craters in the roads, mashing up people's engine and their suspension system on their vehicles, and of course making it difficult for commuters who have to pay more or travel longer distance in order, of course, to get home during that period, and telling us that they will focus on saving us in COVID. That's why they didn't focus on those potholes. But of course, some 500 deaths. Unprecedented for a small country that says that it spent over $22 billion on COVID, and of course had a parallel health system, and still you have 500 deaths. And that is why I say that Rowley and they must be facing, of course, the International Criminal Court for, of course, the killing of our elderlies. Killing of our elderlies. And there's ample evidence. I say so without fear of contradiction. Can't do nothing. It is called geronticide. And what in me them and pass them, as the old people would say. But let's go straight, of course, to that video once again. Don't be gullible. Don't succumb. See them for who they are. This is what is happening in the east part of Spain, along the East-West corridor. Donated some tools to the program. And then, of course, in discussions, by the time the coup was over, he came back from Africa, donated some tools to the program. Talk about Robinson here. And then, of course, in discussions, this one, people. Robinson set up. You notice that I remain calm. I remain calm, but I realized that we were not in immediate danger. And of course, I had of necessity to find out what or where was the source of this rapid fire, gunfire. And when I realized that we weren't in danger, then of course I returned to the program. But it's nonetheless, for most, would be a harrowing experience. I'm sure you out there who were not here would have somehow not have a program tonight, I'm sure. But commitment and dedication is a hell of a thing. Commitment and dedication is a hell of a thing, people. And we must, of course, persevere. And we must do what is right in the interest of all and the salvation of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, we were talking about race, politics, and that banana stunt that Rowley pulled. And then, of course, for introducing another evil, the SOE, for the COVID period. He then told us that, listen, if you have two bananas, they share the same blasted banana. And you're telling me that although don't understand that this man is a criminal by nature, by disposition, by conduct, and utilizing and abusing public office in order to pursue his criminalistic agenda. By the time the coup was over, he came back from Africa, donated some tools to the program, and then, of course, in discussions, Robin. Robinson set up. Let me just pause for a while. Lie down, boy, lie down. That's people that transpired last night at George Street, East Forest Main. Rapid gunfire during the program. Yesterday, of course, sorry for that interruption, but I'm sure that you experience during the course of this program the nature of the neighborhood. And it is fortuitous that we are talking about this situation as far as racial politics is concerned, for us to understand that that has no place in deciding what is best for us as a people, for our children, our children's children. I'm sure you heard the interruption just now. Rapid fire. Yeah, that's real. Happened right, happened as I was speaking. Of course, it's a little way off, but of course, you hear these things as if it's close by. So I had to pause in order to find out, and of course, a whole set of people outside as well looking as to what caused that, and searching as to what direction these rapid fire would have been coming from. By the time the coup was over, he came back from Africa. So yes, people, that is what transpired last night, only last night. Some may say that, as Rowley would say, try to obfuscate, to try to deflect attention away from him. But it's he who told us he had a 10-point plan. A 10-point plan for crime. In addition to that, he said other things. When a government cannot deal with crime, it itself is part of the problem and should be looking to get the hell out of office. He told us all of that. And we must not hold him accountable for those statements that he would have made. He cannot believe that somehow, because he was still in office, even though he told us that he will never support property tax before the 2015 elections, that he will never interfere with subsidies, that will also go and pass as a 9-day or 10-day wonder or mentality scenario. No, it will be accumulated, and accumulatively we know they are no damn good, and they never had any intention, because you cannot tell me once, maybe an aberration, twice you could give them a chance, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and you don't know that that's a habit. There are those who are going to, in the minute, of course, minuscule, but nonetheless, they have to be insane to give Rowley and them another chance. Insane. Having regard to all of the lies and the deceptions, the incompetence, and the larceny of our resources that they have been engaged in over the last, when 2025 comes, then it would have been 10 years. And let's not waste time, people. Of course, we just have about 4 more minutes, so let me play that again. And then, of course, don't forget tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself. And don't forget, of course, between 6 and 8 o'clock, we are on social media, carried by the corridor transformation as well on these platforms. YouTube, you just log into corridor transformation. On Facebook, you, as you did tonight, you log on to Love Laventil. And of course, we will be joining the Real Media TT that carries, of course, the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself. And from 8 to 10 o'clock, we will be joined by the Gael Caribbean, where we'll be on television, and of course expressing these and other issues that are of crucial import for your decision making, having analyzed, and for you to draw the inescapable conclusion of the toxicity and the poison and the weaponizing of government by the Rowley PNM administration, a criminal enterprise called the PNM that must not see the light of electoral existence in Trinidad and Tobago again. I say permanently, as we relegate them moving forward after the next elections, when, of course, Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC would have won, relegate the PNM to the dustbin of political history in this country. Let's go to the lines. A final call. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Lennox,
Hey.
before you play, all them gunshots where you play,
Yeah.
who's the people that saying give Rowley another chance?
If what?
Who is the people that saying give Rowley another chance?
Those persons who are purporting to be spokespersons for the PNM, those persons who are twisting and turning and dilly-dallying. One time they are cussing him, next time they are supporting Stuart Young. Those are the kinds, of course, very few. You could check them almost on both hands, but that is too much as far as I'm concerned. There should be none at all not
But
seeing
there is
Rowley
mad.
for who they are.
There is mad people who even thinking that.
I hear you.
You see, the colonist, however he is, what Mr. Rima talk about,
Yeah,
and saying what Rowley go do and then short tongue, okay?
yes.
That man is one shit tongue boy, Lennox. I forget him. But he can't analyze, he don't know nothing. When he come to talk at the switchy like how you ever see on the TV.
Yes.
In your room, I just move him off. You never know economics. Never know nothing. And he push.
Yeah, but they come across truly like
yes.
like
Like you know so much.
intellectual buffoons, or should I say
Yes.
pretensive intellectual buffoons. I need to, convincingly qualify the kind of intellectual they are. Buffoons.
And you're really laughing when he's talking. First, he's a
Ignoramus, yes.
Let me tell you something. Churchill will never be the leader of the PNM party. Remember, I have a connection in Tom too.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, he will never be the leader of the PNM party. Because the fella, I ain't really more stupid than Rowley or what. But that's the feedback I get in because he look very. He's a little boy, still a little.
Yeah.
You know, big man.
Yeah, of course, a little boy, yes, of course. He's a total neophyte. I see him as not just a neophyte still, in spite of his long stint so far, 9 years in government, but I see him as a total moron as well.
All of that.
Yes.
Can't make it.
Yeah.
They will never let him become the leader.
Yeah, that's too big for his shoe. And the opportunistic nature of Rowley and from Manning come right back only because the PNM was decimated in 1986. Otherwise, the likes of them would never be leadership material. But they are criminals, and they move into the vacuum that was created and created havoc for Trinidad and Tobago as we speak.
Why do you think he put off the internal election? Because they have him back another day.
Of course. And they are now, of course, attempting to select people for some of their regular seats. And that too in itself will have controversy. Because you notice he started with the soft touch, with the low hanging fruit. Going into Kabbalah Day constituency and then choosing, that's obvious, they know they'll get licks there. But where people are looking for their pound of flesh, especially those who might have been genuine to the PNM, and of course, somehow they were, well, not somehow, but they were neglected by Rowley. They are looking for their pound of flesh now. And Rowley will have a very hard time in selecting, of course, a full 41 slate to have contest the next elections. It will be very interesting time watching them implode.
No, in the 2020 election, I want to keep you back.
Go ahead.
You take with the banana.
Yes.
And the word blank.
Yes.
Well, as a teacher, you know, PLA-K, it's only 2 words will go to NOC.
Yes.
So Kamala people set you up there.
Yeah.
And she just went ahead.
So they were too close to black.
Right. Yes. There's only 2 words between BLA and K.
Yeah.
C and N.
Yeah.
C will make black and N will make blank.
Yeah, it could be easily pronounced anyway. And of course, for political purposes, PNM will certainly choose black. But but frankly, it doesn't matter. He's a black man and he's a blank man as well. So he's both.
No,
but see you in the morning.
This time around, listen now.
Yeah.
I want you to check everything with whoever prepare anything for she.
Yeah.
Just sit back on the areas before she play it.
Yeah. All right.
Stereo and everything when you're
but I'm sure that she has learned her lesson. She sounded very, very mature. She's singing very stateswoman-like. She's singing prime ministerial, and she's singing like a true leader that Trinidad and Tobago could really repose their trust in. Let me go. I have one more call coming up. Let me just take that quickly. And then, of course,
you must test back. You just don't read and read. You're supposed to test it back.
Yeah, they're supposed to. Yeah.
On some to hear it coming out.
Proofread. All right, later.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Present
good night. Present good night.
Hello, good night again. Good night.
Yes. Let me hear. Very good. Go ahead.
Getting any disturbance?
No. Me and you loud and clear. These days things are moving almost perfect.
Yes. You can be studying the politics in the country here. You see, because this government is a puppet government and they're really running this country. I wouldn't blame you, you know, because you know the whole vibes that going down. So I want you to try and understand, right? That is the mafia as well choosing Stuart Young. They don't want to have no dealings with nobody else. They don't want no dealing with Penelope Beckers. She's a senior there. They don't want to see people like Keith Scotland. Yeah, see how he does look? They want to see them kind of people, boy. Shorty is a fella, he doing anything. And as I say, all them kind of setup he dealing with the phantasma. La phantasma is the word, Lennox.
Yeah.
He and the La Phantasma, Alex Sapp, is who doing all them trick for Jindal and all kind of people to try and get the refinery. And when you spin it around and bring it right round, is Venezuela want the refinery. How the hell something could be making money? They shut it down. Why? It's like they wanted them people to get it, to get the foreign exchange now. I don't know. We had to study all kind of thing coming up, all the study all the I don't think it really shut down to save Rowley and no friend, you know. The thing deep, you know. This thing very deep. Study all the head and figure it out. Lennox tomorrow, so you could play the thing for the people,
Yes,
please.
I certainly will.
With Mr. Anne Roberts. He have it real
Mark,
nice.
Yes, and with Mark. Okay.
And with Mark,
Yes.
right? One more thing, Lennox.
Go ahead.
Where that noise take place, boy?
Right here on George Street.
Yeah, but as I was asking you if it's in the yard
No,
or if it's on
the
Nelson
street,
by
it's
Grissom.
it's on Nelson Street, about one street from us here. But it sounds as though it was just outside.
Yes, either it take place by the corner Nelson and Prince or by Grissom.
Yeah, somewhere there, because the breeze moves or the wind moves from east to west, and therefore it will carry it will bring the noise down here. Because Port of Spain gets its airing from, of course, the hills as the breeze, as the wind rises, and of course, and it descends into Port of Spain. It comes from over Lavender. That's why I just talk about the cesspits on them, and a fly might well come and stop and jump on somebody food in some restaurant from Lavender Hill and cause the whole country to have at least dysentery.
What's not, Lennox? I listening to you last night, and I feeling like that thing right under your foot right there by the building.
Yeah,
you know?
That's why I duck. Because I felt like if the roof was shattering, so all that came in my mind.
So I judge and I say, if you say it and take place there, the only place after that is have to be down on Nelson.
That's
by Prince.
I confirmed that today. Because it is that information will not keep on under wraps. Everybody will know what
will stay quiet.
They have to, because they have to survive in this environment. So everybody have to know how to escape and where
they will know. Okay then. All right. Good night.
Yes, indeed. Of course. I want to say that once again, my focus on the domestic situation has to do at the end of the day is not these fellas that are going to be voting. It's you and I. And therefore, once we vote, like Tobago did, Robert and them could never get the way in spite of the influences from outside. That is the point I am making. All politics is domestic, right? And the people would have decided, and it's not like Venezuela where there's an overwhelming, of course, support for the UNC, and the PNM could just say no, like Maduro, and don't produce, of course, the relevant documents to ratify or to support their position. No, then so. Trinidad and Tobago is a different kettle of fish. So that is why we have to focus on the fact that if Tobago could do it, we could do it here too in Trinidad, and therefore Tobago as well again in 2025. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. So don't forget, of course, once again, tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself, of course, from 6 in the morning to 8 o'clock, when, of course, we will be on social media, YouTube, Facebook, etc. And then, of course, from 8 to 10 o'clock, yes, 2 hours. So we have, of course, the Gael Caribbean, where, of course, we'll be joined television-wise, and we will be, of course, bringing these and other matters to you. Have a wonderful one. But let's, of course, go back to that, end with that, of course, episode of course, that will scare the best and the worst of us. Back from Africa, donated some tools to the by the time the coup was over, he came back from Africa, donated some tools to the program, and then, of course, in discussions, Robin. Robinson set up. Yes, people, of course, I had to, of course, pause the program. And that's that's when the decision was taken to pause. I'll pause a play. I will just interlude. Troubled waters, people. Troubled waters. Yesterday, of course, sorry for that interruption, but I'm sure that you experience during the course of this program the nature of the neighborhood. And it is fortuitous that we are talking about this situation as far as racial politics is concerned, for us to understand that that has no place in deciding what is best for us as a people, for our children, our children's children. I'm sure you heard the interruption just now. Rapid fire. Yeah, that's real. Happened right, happened as I was speaking. Of course, it's a little way off, but of course, you hear these things as if it's close by. So I had to pause in order to find out, and of course, whole set of people outside as well looking as to what caused that, and searching as to what direction these rapid fire would have been coming from.
I have a political cemetery. It's not for people like you and me. It is for all them politicians. And I dig in their grave, no fuck with me hand. I find some of them, they living too long. And every 5 years it's the same old song. Some of them dead, just shame to lie down. So I prepare for them a burial ground. Rowley, my first grave for he. With joy in my heart, put him down with glee. All of them useless politicians, only making up numbers in my island. I don't care all who go vex with me, but Kamala I not ready to bury. She is a strong, determined woman like me, and deserve a chance to run this country. When she in power, I don't go hungry. And Calypsonian does get big money. She don't deserve no spot in my cemetery. I putting she in the center of the city. I have a political cemetery. It's not for people like you and me. It is for all them politicians. And I dig in their grave, no fuck with me hand. I find some of them, they living too long. And every 5 years it's the same old song. Some of them dead, just shame to lie down. So I prepare for them a burial ground. Rowley, my first grave for he. With joy in my heart, put him down with glee. All of them useless politicians, only making up numbers in my island. I don't care all who go vex with me, but Kamala I not ready to bury. She's a strong, determined woman like me and deserve a chance to run this country. When she in power, I don't go hungry. And Calypsonian does get big money. She don't deserve no spot in my cemetery. I putting she in the center of the city. I have a political cemetery.
By the time the coup was over, he came back from Africa, donated some tools to the program. And then, of course, in discussions, Robinson set up. Let me just pause for a while. Lie down, boy, lie down. Yesterday, of course, sorry for that interruption, but I'm sure that you experience during the course of this program the nature of the